too.
No, but it was the same thing we shared on.
Yeah, but then
I sent it, yeah, I sent it.
so that's fine.
It's okay.
I have to have notes because I go all over the map if I don't, so I just want to make sure.
So you talk about something.
No. Just both of us. We're both.
All right, so everyone, we're live. So if you can sit down, we're about to start in 1 minute, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwapelumi, and first of all, I'd like to make a territorial acknowledgement. I'm on the board of IWIST, and I'd like to acknowledge that I'm sitting on the land on the Lakwangan, Songis, and Esquimalt peoples on whose territory the university stands today, and the Lakwangan and Seneca people whose historical relationships with this land continue to this day. I am very, very grateful to live, work, learn, and play on this land. And for those watching online as well, I would like you to take a few moments to acknowledge the land that you're sitting on or that you're residing in currently. So before we get started, a few housekeeping rules. If you have your phones, kindly put it on silent so that you don't disturb the proceeding. And also, I would like to tell you about the fire exit. It's just to my left here. If you want to use the restroom, it's just down there. You can go to the restroom and then you turn right. That is the way to the restroom. But there is no announcement for fire drill today, so if there is a fire alarm in here, I think we should all get up and move. Right. So before I introduce the panelists, I would like to I would like to tell you a bit about IWIST, what we do and who we are. In IWIST, our vision is to connect women and allies in science and technology, in engineering and math on this particular island, and now beyond, we're spreading beyond. And also, we want to support all women and allies in STEM as well. And how do we do this? We do it by building a trusted community of women, of allies, who come in and mentor you. We have networking events like this, both online and in person, and it's just to support women in STEM and allow them to grow and be the woman that they're supposed to be. We have monthly events, but this is a different one. We're having it online and in person as well, so acknowledging those who are watching online, we see you and we appreciate you joining here today. I'll now go on to introduce our panelists. So, to my right, we have Sue Maitland. Sue has spent decades in the world of IT in the roles such as a programmer, a project manager, a recruiter, a resource manager, and a sales executive. Then, over 10 years ago, Sue followed her passion, and she trained to become a professional life coach. She's accredited through the International Coaching Federation, and at the PCC levels, Sue specializes in helping others make inspired professional and personal transitions. She does this through presentations, online workshops, one-on-one coaching, networking events, and mastermind sessions. How I met Sue. So 2 years ago, I think July 2021 to be precise, I attended one of our networking sessions online before moving to Victoria. And there, she helps newcomers come into Victoria, so it was a newcomers event. When I met her, immediately after the session, I reached out to her. I sent her an email saying I was coming into Victoria and I wanted to connect. And she obliged. Immediately I landed after settling down. I met with her, we sat down, and I'm sitting here today because of the several connections I've made through her. So I'll tell you, if you really, really want to make that connection, you want to understand how to network, especially if you're in a new place, please speak with Sue. And to my left is Dr. Mina, Hoorfar, a professor and dean at the University of Victoria in the Faculty of Engineering and Computer Science. An internationally acclaimed expert in microfluidics, Dr. Mina's work spans around fluid mechanics, biochemistry, and biosensors. Impressive. She's at the forefront of pathogen detection and air quality monitoring. She migrated to Canada some 20 plus years ago And this year, she was recognized as one of the top 25 immigrants in Canada. A round of applause for her, please. And how I met Mina. So Mina attended an event like this. I think it was in October 2021. Yep, that's how I met her. And it was the title of the event was She Led. After the event, I just walked up to Mina and said, oh, I'd like to meet you, and introduced myself. And she gave me her card. She said, keep in touch. I did keep in touch. And 2 years after, we are seated here today. So another round of applause for her, and Sue as well. Thank you so much for obliging iWest and for being here. So, questions. Today we are sitting down to discuss how do we migrate ourselves to significance. Most of the people in this room, I can see about 20-something women in this room. Most of us are immigrants. We've come from different countries. We are professionals where we were before. And we wanted to come into Canada to, continue from where we stopped. But it's not an easy journey to make. It's not an easy transition to make. Migrating enough is hard. You're coming into a different country, different culture, different weather, and then you're landing here. And how do you start? So today, we'll be having this discussion amongst ourselves, and we're laying it down in Technicolor. There is no silver bullet. I must tell everyone, it's your journey, it's your life. It is my life. I decided this is what I wanted to do. I looked for people who would support me, and I've been on that journey. And again, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you don't come in here thinking, oh, everything is going to be the same for you once you land. You need to walk your way step by step, meeting people. And again, that is why we're sitting here today. So today, I will be asking the very, very first question. And I would ask Sue, what is networking to you, Sue?
Okay, thanks, Oluwapelumi. Actually, networking for me is making connections. Networking is kind of a scary word for a lot of people, but it really is about making connections. And it's about getting out there and being curious. I think that's my favorite kind of expression around it, because if you go into a networking event where you're interested in learning about other people, you're looking for ways that you can perhaps help other people, connect them with resources and people that could be beneficial for them, that's much less scary than thinking, I'm supposed to be going in here and impressing everyone. And that's not really what true networking is. However, you do also want to be able to introduce yourself in a positive way and have people understand you. But to me, the greatest joy in networking for me is to be able to, exactly what Oluwapelumi said, connect people with other organizations or resources that can help them with that journey along their career path. So to me, that's really what it's all about. It is an amazing skill to develop. It isn't easy, but you can learn. I learned. I was not good at networking. I felt I avoided it actually for a while. Then when I became a coach, I had to learn, because that was how I met the coachees that I would be working with. But once I'd learned to do that and practiced more, I started to love it. And then I realized that perhaps I can help other people. I can teach them what I learned. And if you can really develop your networking skills, it's a superpower. I mean, it just changes so much in your life. And I think Mina will be sharing a little bit about what it's done for her as well.
So thank you so much, Sue. And you're a professional person. I'm not. I learn as I go. I never think as networking is a very big word. I cannot even spell it. I'm a horrible speller. I think it as a way that every person has a story. And as you mentioned, being curious, I love to know the story of people. Because when I hear the story, it sticks with me and I learn something. So it has two sides. You help people to achieve what they want, which is an amazing feeling and it's very satisfying. But also you're learning something from other people. So every event I go and I meet people, always I learn something. And I want to make a pact with myself, by the time I die, I wanted to know so many people more than my own hair. Then during the time that I'm passing, I remember all their stories. So this is very important. And during this time, when you learn the stories, the way that they make you feel, that sticks with you. and they stick with you for the rest of your life. And when you go back, and the impression you made on them also stick with them. So it's a mutual thing. And during these events, that you make stories or you hear stories and you make friends, that's when you make a mentorship, you be a mentor, or you be even more than a mentor, be a sponsor of someone, which is an important giving back to the community of the people you're around it. I always want to have a sponsor. I've been lucky actually in my life to have a few mentors and a lot of sponsors. And now I take it on myself to be the same thing, to be a mentor if they want me and they accept me, and also sponsoring people.
Fantastic. I mean, she's made something very profound. She said she actually wants to meet more people than the hair on her head. I think that's ambitious, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to my second question. And it is, as an immigrant, we're trying to navigate several things once we land in a host country. How do I network in person? And Mina would answer that question.
So can you repeat more?
How do I network when I go for one in-person event?
Okay, so I'm not a virtual person. During the pandemic, Zoom killed me. I don't like Zoom. I like to see and look at people's eyes. I like 3D. I don't respond to 2D. So in the in-person, make it your job to go and know the person. Ask them. Really be curious. And that openness, definitely, believe me, will work. I go on today, actually, I met a wonderful student of ours. She was in the elevator, and I give it to you. You were the one who asked me, are you going to the event because I pressed the 6 button? Usually, I'm the one asking, but I really give it to you. And that told me, oh my God, such a young person, coming from another country, not knowing anybody, getting on the elevator, just by guessing and opening the discussion. Open the discussion. Go there. How are you? My name is that. Where are you from? What are you doing? That, believe me, is going to set the tone. And that's how you start. It sounds tough, but that's just a small opening. How are you? Are you going there? How long you been there? What are you doing? That the discussion. So that's how the in-person networking works. And after that, similar to what happened to the event 2 years ago, you came to me and said, I'm so and so. Are you interested? Everybody will say yes. I've never seen a person say, no, I'm not interested, go. Never seen that. So that's how you do it in person.
Thank you very much, Mina. So, Sue, you can network on LinkedIn, you can network on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. How do I network online? Or attend a Zoom webinar, I don't know anyone. How do I network online, Sue?
Okay, so networking online is one of my favorite things, although I love in person as well. I have to say that during COVID, I really, really missed connecting with people. It was, I was really, I'm a connector, as you can tell. I love connecting people with other people. I love connecting with people. I started to attend, I looked out for virtual events, and I found a lot. There are quite a lot of virtual events for women in STEM. And in fact, I almost got a little addicted to virtual networking. I was like doing it 2-3 times a week sometimes, and then having to follow up with keeping on top of everything. But it gave me that connection that I was looking for. And then you can have a follow-up, just like you'd have a coffee meeting, perhaps if you meet someone here tonight and you think, oh, I'm really interested, I like to learn more, or maybe we could help each other. You can have a virtual coffee meeting. You know, you can arrange to have a little Zoom meeting afterwards. And I know it's not the same, but you know, I've made some really deep connections with women around the world, actually, through Zoom meetings. So don't write that off. It's definitely something, you know, to consider. LinkedIn, of course, is probably the biggest way that you can connect online. It's an amazing tool. It's a great way to raise your profile. It's a great way for you to build relationships by commenting on other people's posts, even putting your own posts out there, joining groups. And it's also a great way to kind of research companies that you might want to work for, research jobs that you think you might want to do, reaching out to people perhaps who are doing that job, see if they'll have a conversation with you, because sometimes the job you think you want to do, when you end up in it, it's not quite what you thought. So it's really good to do it from that research point of view. One thing I always do is, if I've been involved in an event where there's speakers or panelists, I will always reach out to them afterwards and invite them to connect on LinkedIn. I always send a message to say, how much I appreciated them making the time. I may add something about what I really found inspiring or appreciated about what they shared. And I have never had anybody who's a panelist decline my invitation. So by all means, reach out to me tonight if you're not already connected with me on LinkedIn. And the benefit for you is that I have 3,500 connections on LinkedIn, and once you join my network, they become your second level connections, which makes it a lot easier for you to reach out for them in future if they notice that there's someone else they already know. So please reach out and connect if we haven't already connected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. I mean, we've heard of this. There's just 1 degree of separation, right? So if anyone you want to meet on earth, there's just one person that is taking you away from that person, that individual you want to meet. So please reach out, whether online or in person. Always make sure you make that connection. So I have another question. And again, for those watching online and for those who are in this hall as well, please, if you have any question, could you please write it down and pass it over to Jordan? She'll hand it over to me, and then I'll be able to ask the panelists. So please, if you have any question, please make a note of it and pass it to us. We'll definitely ask our panelists. So another nagging question is when we attend events like this or we go for interviews, we always have that imposter syndrome. I thought it was just me, but apparently every woman has it, or maybe almost every woman. Even for non-immigrants. Like, I've met a lot of high-profile women when I'm having discussions with them, like, oh, I didn't think I was good enough to be the CEO of this company. I didn't think I was good enough to be this. It happens to all of us, So again, how do we fight that imposter syndrome when you're talking about yourself and when you're telling people about your stories too?
Me again? Okay. It's true. Imposter syndrome can be something that's predominant in women, but a lot of men have that too. In fact, I have a client from the US who was, he was in a very key role with a big company, and he himself was suffering from imposter syndrome. So don't assume it's a woman-only thing. I think it's particularly challenging for women who have come from a culture where you're not expected to brag or boast about what you do. It can be very challenging to get past that belief that it's not appropriate. I really do think that a key part is noticing your skills, all of your skills, not just the technical skills, the softer skills that a lot of women have that not all men have to the same degree. Getting comfortable talking about what you bring to the table. Thinking about it and then being able to kind of articulate that to other people. One of the things I do in my coaching is I do a coaching session on strengths, where I pull from my clients the strengths that they have, and then we actually even imagine some friends or co-workers are there, and we get some ideas of what they might say as well. And at the end of it, what often happens is I will read it back to them, their strengths, and they'll go, "Is that me?" And I'll say, "Well, yes, that's exactly. Is it not you?" And they go, "Yes, it is, but I never thought of myself that way." So it's owning your strengths, connecting with them. What I'll often do is make a recording, so that you can listen to that recording every day or before you go for an interview, just to remind yourself. So it's all before you go to a networking event, to remind yourself what you bring to the table. Men are more comfortable generally, I'm generalizing here, but generally they're more comfortable talking themselves up, shall we say, than women. So we've got to learn to do it because we're equally qualified and sometimes better qualified. You may have heard that sometimes they've done some studies and there's a requirement with 10 requirements, and a guy will look at it and say, "I've got that, that, and that. I'm going for it." And a woman will look at it and say, "Oh, I don't have this. Oh, no, I haven't got, and I'm not going to apply." Don't do that. You are more qualified than the guy who applied. So if it's a job you really want, my message is go for it. You've got nothing to lose. You'll get some more interview skills, and you never know. Those softer skills and the other things that you bring to the table could be the differentiator. So don't count yourself out, is my message. Go for it. If it's something you want, go for it.
Thank you very much, Sue. And Mina?
Yeah, and I was brought up in a family that being humble was the most important attribute. And being humble was taught to me in a way that I'm going to tell you and it would be shocked. That even if you're 9, make yourself 5. And they thought that if you're 9 and believe you're 9, you, out of 10, you are going to sound as an arrogant person. So since childhood, I was brought up with that notion that it's good to dumb yourself down. And even just till this day, I do that. And I came to a country that you don't need to make more than what you are. Always be honest, be transparent, know your weaknesses, know your strength. But don't also dumb yourself down because the opportunities are there, but they're limited. So I learned over 20-some years I've been there, you need to be really honest and true to yourself. And as Sue mentioned, know your strength. And even if you don't have certain aspects that the job is asking, think about, I have others and my history and my records. They have showed me that I can achieve that. And if they wanted to hire somebody who has potential and not just checking all the boxes, I'm right for that job. So I go to meetings now and I'm honest. I said that these are the things I can bring to the table. I'm good at this, I can do this. These are my weaknesses and I'm not ashamed of it. I will have a team to help me to make it. Remember, you're not alone. You're not supposed to know everything. That's not the right way. You need to know enough to work with the rest of the people and collaborate. So that is how to go about it. You don't need to have all the boxes in the job to apply for. Know that people who are the other side of the table and they're interviewing you, they also interview for potential. And they want somebody who can work with the rest. If they don't have some skills, the other people can complement.
Thank you so much for that tip. And so I still have my video from our coaching session.
Oh,
And just to add to what I've just said, Adam Grant, a psychologist and an author, in his latest book, Hidden Potential, said that the imposter syndrome is not a clue that you're underqualified. It is a sign that you have a hidden potential. So when those feelings come, the thoughts come that are not good enough, know that you have a hidden potential and you need to bring it out. So now going to the next question. Now this question is for Mina because she can understand what I'm talking about. How do I network when I see that I'm the only foreigner in the room? I go for an event and I am the only foreigner in the room. How do I network in such a
Very
place?
tough. So when I came to this country, I couldn't even speak a word of English. And for me, having accent, it took me a while to understand having accent is not being having a disease. Because for a while, I thought I have a disease, that I have an accent. And it's very difficult to really show who you are when even the basic communication skill, which is the most important part of networking, is not your, your nature. You need to think about the wordings. You need to think about the sentence. So imagine, I'm talking about myself, where we're coming from. So what I've learned is that other people understand and they really wanted to work with you and they wanted to help you. They understand that, for example, for me, English is not, they know that English is not my first language. And they don't take it, I myself take it against myself that they don't take it against me. But it took me so long to do that. I'm past that. Because as soon as I go there and I cannot communicate because I'm tired, and when I'm tired, definitely is not the first thing I can think about, in terms of the communication, when I'm under stress. So it's just, you need to believe in yourself and say that people want to talk to me, people want to have me, people want me to be part of their network or group because of who I am, because of other potential, not just because I can speak or not in the same way that others do. So it is a very difficult thing. In the leadership world and team that I am, I'm one of the few international or immigrant women around there. And it's still till this day, I feel most of the time awkward. And this is an honest truth. I'm again, among friends to say this. Many, many moments, I have ideas, I have questions, and I don't even dare to raise my hand. And even in this position, I feel the same way. So I can imagine for a young female coming and they're looking for opportunity to work outside, how terrifying that can be. I don't have the answer. I haven't mastered that myself. Every day I try, but it's very terrifying.
Wow, thanks for that. I mean, there's no silver bullet. There is no perfect answer, but you just have to keep trying. So I remembered, I think it was about 3 or 4 months after arriving in Canada, in Victoria precisely, I got invited to a very high-profile event. And when I mean high-profile, it was at the Fairmont. How high-profile can it be? And of course, I was the only black girl in the room. I met a few people. I decided to talk and just tell them what I was doing and all that. And, you know, a guy just looked at me and said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I can't hire you. You don't have the Canadian experience. Meanwhile, I'd worked in Microsoft, I'd worked in Nokia, I'd worked in Lafarge. These are organizations that you know that they're here. And he told me that. Okay, guess what? 2 years after, I'm sitting on the same table with the CEO. I didn't take that as, oh, this person, I didn't even mention it. But I'm just saying how, you know, this would always happen. But you don't take it to heart. You just keep moving on. I kept doing my thing, and you know, I may not even see that guy again. But then when those thoughts come, we just have to think about, how do I network myself to significance? How do I make myself known? I mean, no delay is not denial, refusal is not denial. You just keep going. So when those thoughts come, you make mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. You just keep pushing on. So thank you so much for that.
Can I add a little bit?
Yes,
I know
please.
I'm not, you know, a visible. I was a foreigner at one time, about 40 years ago when I came to Canada. But I just want to share a story with you of somebody that I've worked with recently, and she's given me permission. As a coach, you cannot share who you've worked with unless you have written permission from them to do so. She may even be watching tonight. Hi, Sumi, if you're there. I met her when I was in Vancouver. I was invited over to talk about, the topic was layoff to lift off. And how do you prepare for either for a layoff, and how, or if you've been laid off, how do you lift off? And I met her there, and she was very shy, and she was asking me whether her previous experience was relevant or not. And I said, absolutely it is, you know. Oh, okay, and I'm doing some volunteering. Well, that's relevant too. Make sure it's on your resume. Anyway, we made this connection, and I ended up doing a little bit of work with her and supporting her. Now, I have to tell you, she was a tenacious networker, even though it was uncomfortable. She was out there meeting people. She volunteered. She was even facilitating panels, even though it was uncomfortable for her. And she had a lovely personality. So these things combined, and just recently, she was trying to break into the field of cybersecurity, something she was passionate about. She has landed that first opportunity, and this is what I asked her, like, what difference did it make, you know, having somebody supporting you? She said, first of all, you need people in the professional world who will guide you in the right direction in many ways and show you which steps are correct and necessary. As you embark on this journey, you need to learn to trust yourself and be aware of your strengths. This is where your coach came into play, and that's how I helped her. There was a time when I felt hopeless or inadequate, and I met Sue. She reminded me of my strengths that I'd forgotten and provided me with unwavering support until the end. In fact, at times, she believed in me more than I believed in myself. If you find yourself facing similar challenges or pursuing similar goals, it's worth considering the benefits of having a coach by your side. They can be the difference between feeling lost and forging a path to success. You can probably guess why I love what I do. It's just a privilege to be able to help people through that transition. But she really did, she bought into the networking, and she volunteered, and she made this happen. I didn't, I just encouraged her, supported her, you know, and yeah. I should also mention, related to this, I think you probably know that 50% or more of jobs that are posted are filled through word of mouth. They are not filled through that application process. I mean, some jobs do have to go through the application process, but still there'll be people in that pile of resumes where somebody knows that person, and that resume can get pulled out, and they know them through networking. So I do encourage you, it is important, and sometimes there'll be a job created, and that's exactly what happened for Sumi. A job was actually created for her because of who she is and what she did in terms of getting herself out there. So you can do it.
Thank you for that push. So any questions from the audience? Any question from anyone online? Any question? Does anyone want to ask a question? There's the opportunity to ask the question. Any hands? You start from here. Anyone? No question. Okay. So now let's get into the weeds of networking. Now, I'm at a networking event in person. It's a huge crowd of people, or maybe minimal, maybe like the number of people here, like 30. And what's the most important thing to know when networking online? So I'm online, probably on Zoom or Teams or LinkedIn. What's the most important thing to know during that online networking event? Sue.
Oh, okay. I think what you've got to remember when you're online is it is similar to networking in person. You still want to prepare, you want to think about what you're going to say, but I think you also have to be generous, and you have to realize that quite often the networking will happen in such a way that you end up in a breakout room. Anybody been in a breakout room? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what happens is there's a set amount of time and there's a set number of people. And what you don't want to do is be the person who monopolizes the entire 20 minutes so that the other 3 people in the room don't get to speak. So a great tip is for you to volunteer to be the timekeeper. So you volunteer, you set your watch, your phone, and it can time it. Make sure you remember how long you have, and you be the one to do the little beep so that the person who's kind of on a roll realizes, oh, it's time for me to wrap up so the next person can have a turn. So be generous, I think, is important. And do that follow-up. And if you're on Zoom, for sure, save the chat. Because in the chat, a lot of people will put links and how to connect with them. And you can save that chat and you can go follow up later. So I think those are probably my top tips there. Yeah.
Thanks, Sue. So, Mina, in-person event, when I go for an in-person event, yeah. So tell us about the most important thing to do when networking in person.
Eye contact. It's very important. When people
Eye contact.
Yes, eye contact. When people are talking to you, look at them. Make the eye contact. I know it's not a most comfortable thing to do, but it's very important. They feel, that you wanted to really connect with them. And I think that personal eye contact and sort of listening, and also listen to them, truly, genuinely listen. Don't think that what you have to answer if they ask you a question. Really listen to them. These are the few, I think, etiquettes you definitely need to have.
Absolutely. And when maintaining that eye contact, I nod. I listen. Oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about that? Yeah. So I try to engage. So I'm an active listener, and I just try to engage. Sue, you want to say more about in person?
I think put your devices away. Don't have your devices with you. and I agree that totally the eye contact is really important. Nothing else particularly is coming to mind right now off the top of my head, but that curiosity thing I think is the main thing. And if you come with that in mind, you will be curious. You'll be asking other people and thinking of how you can help them or connect them with other resources. And it's going to change the whole dynamic for you if you can do that. However, of course, if you haven't been networking and you don't know any other resources to share, that makes it a little more difficult. So that's another one of the joys is getting out there and finding out from other people, asking, being curious, so that you can then share that information with other people as well.
And just one more thing. Also be generous to share your contacts with the other person. So if you are the host or the co-host, or people around, when a new person comes, introduce them to the rest of the group. Make sure they feel they're welcome. This is very important. And sometimes people are in a group and get together, they know each other, and the new person comes, they feel very awkward and out of place. Make sure that you welcome them and introduce them to the group.
I love that, Mina. That is just so important. It's one of the things I preach in this town because it is kind of a who you know kind of town in Victoria. And you'll go to networking events and you will see these little groups all talking to each other. And I preach to them and I say, look, we have a lot of newcomers here and it's really takes a lot of courage to come to these events. I want you to be actively looking for ways to bring them in, not just talk to the people you already know. What's the point? You already know. You can have the coffee with them anytime. So I really agree with you that that's really important. So if you're in a group as well, try and be aware of that. Try and keep the conversation open rather than a closed circle, because then it's easier for someone to come up and say, may I join you? And you can bring them in. So be aware of that as well, of what you can do to bring other people in.
So you mentioned something very, very important, and that's keeping your phone away. So I read a book about the act of presence, being present with people, and that's it. When you're with someone and your phone is off, you're not distracted by your phone, it shows that you're 100% attentive and you're giving that person attention. It's kind of endearing, right? You know, when you can see someone has your full attention, it is endearing, and it makes the person feel, oh, this person wants to know about me, right? Even if that person is at a very senior level. Because again, let's think about it. Everyone's antenna is tuned to what is in it for me. So when you're asking a question, when you're meeting someone, the person is thinking, oh, what value is this person bringing to the table? So you can imagine doing that and flicking through your phone. It just shows that, oh, this person is kind of distracted. I mean, it happens to almost all of us, but we need to learn to keep that phone away. There's not an emergency. 99% of the time, there's not an emergency. We're just distracted by Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that, you know. So showing that your presence really, really helps in those conversations. And another thing I would, want to allude to is that when we talk to people, they're looking at that value. So again, talk about the value you're bringing to the table and listen to them. You can even tell them to expatiate on what they're talking about. Yeah, it shows that you're practicing active listening, and it helps the person to, broaden more in the conversation. So I think that's a very good tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so another question, which there's no silver bullet answer to, is I've attended an event and I want to follow up. So we've all come into this event, we want to follow up, we've met different people. How do I follow up? How do I get people to know that, oh, okay, I'm not coming to ask for favor, but sometimes, I have it at the back of your mind. How do I follow up after an online event? So
I usually, my go-to is to go, usually at the event, I will actually ask people for their email or their card if they have it. In Victoria, it's still a thing. People do still have cards, so you may want to think about getting your own card if you're looking for work. But I will then invariably go onto LinkedIn and invite them to connect on LinkedIn. And I will add a little note that says, I really enjoyed meeting you at the event. I've just done it with a number of the ladies who are in the room tonight, and I met them at a Toast event, and I told them about this event. And and I just invite them to join my network. And then, if they accept, then I will usually come back with something of interest, maybe a link to an article that I've written or so that I've read, or an event that's coming up that I think could be interesting for them. The idea is really you're trying to build a little bit of a rapport so that you're bringing something of value. And then I'll also often invite them to have I have a 20-minute Zoom link on my website, and I'm always happy to have that conversation to get to know the person a little bit more, because there may be even more ways that I can support them if I get to know them better. So so that's really the way I follow up.
So, Mina?
Yeah, for me also emails, and sometimes depending on the person and the nature of what they wanted to follow up and connect, my phone number. And usually when they send an email, I like to meet with them, through Zoom or coffee or tea. So it's always happening after that. It's a pleasure to know people. I think it's the best part of my day, instead of sitting behind the table or standing. In my case, I'm working. So I think it's a good break to see people, talk to them.
Yes, thank you so much. So now I'm going to ask, I told Anthony I'm going to put him on the spot. He's going to answer this question. And we're lots of women, and thanks to Anthony and him for, for showing up here. The question that I have for Anthony is, how do I build allyship with men? How do I, when I meet a guy at an event, how do I connect with him after? How do I engage with them? And, how do I, maybe even get a mentor, make a guy a mentor for me? So, Anthony, that question is for you. The mic is with Jordan, yeah.
Oh. So, how do you make an ally out of a man? I think, specifically in the context of, with migrant women, I think when I came to UVic, again, I had a lot of privileges, and I think for me, I I was aware that I had these privileges, but I wasn't really aware what that meant. And I think it was coming to events like this that I realized how uneven the playing field was. And I think a lot of men want to be an ally, but I don't, at least from my own perspective, I don't think there's an awareness there of all of the things that other people are facing. Like, I don't think when I first came here, I had any idea that someone would say to someone that you haven't had the Canadian experience, so you couldn't get this job. Like, that isn't something that I thought would ever happen. And I think it's just communicating and exposing people to some of these issues so they're aware of them. I think that alone helps them become an ally, because they, I think, are just lacking that awareness. And I think people want to do the right thing, but I think often they just aren't aware of the issues that other people are facing because they haven't had to face those issues. I think to other people they might seem obvious, but I think until I started going to these events and hearing it from other people, I just had no idea all the challenges that other people are facing that I didn't have to face.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. There's a couple of men who are here tonight. Thank you.
So thanks so much, Anthony. Mina, do you want to speak to that as well, as in how do you, approach men, and how do you, get them on as a mentor? I remember having those discussions with you, and one of the things you said, you had a very, very good mentor who's a guy. So can you tell us how to do that?
Yeah, so in my profession, women are in minority. I mean, I'm a mechanical engineer, and mechanical engineering is one of the most male-dominated group in engineering, if you're not familiar with it, similar to electrical engineering. So from earliest stage of my education and my career, I had to learn to make ally with the other gender as well. And I don't look at it as different gender. I look at people with who they are. Doesn't matter what kind of gender they have. Some of my best friends are male, and they understand better than some of the people that couldn't ever connect. So I look at it from who I can connect and talk to. My supervisor, former supervisor, and he was the best mentor I've ever had. He showed me exactly like Sue, the potentials that I never thought that I have. I was extremely shy person. I couldn't even look at somebody's eyes when I came to Canada. I couldn't even raise my voice more than syllabus. People couldn't hear me. And I thought that is something you're either born with it or you don't have it, the confidence. And he taught me, no, as you said, it's practicing. So it doesn't matter is a male colleague, male friend, or a female, you just have to do the same thing. And as now I have in my leadership team, majority of my exec are male, I have amazing work relationship with them, which I can communicate. We have common goals for the faculty. So I don't see the gender as a point here. I see the way that you approach people.
Interesting. Sue, you want to lend some voice to that?
Interesting. I've been thinking about a few things. Remind me again the specific question that you asked.
It is how to build allyship with men when you go for networking events, whether online or in person.
Well, events like this, the fact that we have two men here already, there are two potential allies in the room, just the fact that they showed up. Not every man is going to be an ally, but as we've talked about, it's more of an educational process of helping people understand what we're going through. So I was in IT for over 20 years. It was, again, very male-dominated. I didn't really consciously think of myself as a woman in IT. I just thought of myself as doing my job. So I didn't, I guess I probably adopted a bit of a persona, if I'm honest, a tougher persona than who I really genuinely am. But I was rewarded for that. So I'm not recommending it because I wasn't really being my authentic self. So not everyone will be an ally. Just feel out the ones who seem to want to understand. And don't assume. I think a lot of us assume that men do understand. And we've just heard tonight that they don't necessarily know what we go through or understand how we feel. So we have a certain responsibility to perhaps share that as well. in a professional way, not in an emotional, triggered way. And through having those conversations and sharing, I think that's how things will grow, and you'll build those allies. But women can be allies too. You don't need. It doesn't have to be all on the men.
Thanks so much for sharing that. So before I go into my next question, you can now see that we all have a shade of orange. It wasn't planned. Oh, yes. It wasn't planned at all. We got in here and, oh, orange, orange, orange. So now I'm going to talk about dressing. It's often said that we should dress how we want to be addressed. If it's true in my country, it's true in Canada. So what's the role of dressing when going for networking events? Mina?
Actually, this is something new for me. So the first class I taught, actually I was talking to one of my colleagues here, and I mentioned about how I end up being at university, a professor. The first time I taught, I was a PhD student still, and I always loved jeans. I'm wearing jeans and T-shirts. So I went to the classroom with jeans and T-shirt, and nobody took me seriously. The students, they looked at me and said, who this person is? Of course, there was an age difference. I was older than them, but still with that. So the second time I went, I wear like a professor. I wear a suit, the only suit I had at that time. And then I saw the reaction is very different. Of course, I was the same person, the same person with the same knowledge, but I was contributing the same thing, but it's important. Regardless of what we wanted to think, this is just your appearance, it is important. So when you go to an event, you have to wear the dress for that event. It has to really fit the event. And for the job as well, when you go for an interview, this is really important. It's not only respect to the person that you're going for, it's respect for yourself and presenting yourself in the best way. That's what I feel. So I learned a lesson there. It was very embarrassing, and even admitting to myself that one of the issues in the classroom was that I didn't dress properly, but then I learned the lesson. So this is my advice to you, make sure that it's respect to yourself as well.
Interesting, thanks for bringing that perspective. Sue?
I had an embarrassing experience like that. I went to a conference, and it was an IT conference, and I just thought, oh, it's going to be casual. So I took jeans, and it was like 2 days. I did have a jacket, but still, I'm usually a little overdressed. You may have noticed I do like that. But I was uncomfortable for that whole event. And you know, it didn't have to happen because I knew people who'd been to this event before. And so all I needed to do was pick up the phone and just say, what's the dress code? What do people normally wear? And you can do that too, right? So, yeah, it was... but I think it's always, you never get a second chance to create a first impression. So just think about that. I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money on your wardrobe, but just try to look professional. And yeah, yeah, I was going to give an example, but I'm not going to about something else. But I do think, yeah, dress in the way that you want to be received, because as Mina said, it sort of elevates your credibility. It shouldn't, I know, and I know there's people who say, I'm going to dress some. You can, but you will be putting yourself potentially at a disadvantage, and why do that? We don't need any more disadvantages. We're already women in a minority kind of field.
Good, thanks for sharing the perspective. And there's something I noticed since I moved here. So back home, when I get on online calls, I don't look darker or anything because we are all dark, right? Now, when I get onto Zoom calls, if I'm wearing black, you can't see me. So I had to consciously learn to wear bright colors. Back home is always about black or brown. I mean, that's it in your office environment is always dark colors, right? But now I had to elevate that and let to get onto bright colors. And in fact, there was a meeting I actually attended. And after a while, I then, a few months after I met, one of the attendees who was very, very senior, quite senior. And I reached out to her, I said, hello. And she said, she said, oh, hello. I think I've met you. I said, where? She said, oh, you were at, she was online. I was seated in person. And you were at this particular meeting. I remembered your dress. And I said, oh, thank you. I said, it was a lovely dress, which I just remembered. She didn't remember my face. She didn't remember anything I said. But she remembered my dress. So it's very important, when we're going somewhere, we dress up, we show up. Like I always say, show up. It's show time. For every time you go out of your house and you're going for an event, you're going for an interview, show up. So the next question is about when we're coming here, before arriving in, host country, we're always told about, once you get there, before you get a job, you need to volunteer. It's always, first thing, before they get a job, is volunteering. So I want you to speak to, what is it like, when you come in and, volunteering, that service to the community, service to maybe a group that you know about or someone has told you about. What is the value in networking? In showing up and volunteering. So,
well, Oluwapelumi is a perfect example of that because she volunteered big time with iWest and she organized this whole event. So kudos to you for doing that, Oluwapelumi.
Thank you.
It is an incredibly powerful way to build connections. It needs to be done strategically. I mean, you don't just want to volunteer somewhere because your friend says, oh, come on, they're nice people, let's go do this. This is your time, So think about an organization where you will have the chance to connect with other people who potentially could help open some doors for you. It's not being selfish. It's just realizing you're giving your time, so it's okay to have something back in return. Also look for opportunities where perhaps you can get a skill that you don't have, because that's one neat thing about volunteering. You can try different things that you haven't done before. Sumi, who I quoted earlier, she volunteers with ISACA. She volunteers with women in cybersecurity. She just builds those relationships by being willing to contribute. Now, I do think you've also got to think about how much time you can allocate. And I have on my website a do's and don'ts of volunteering for you to check it out before you sign up. But it's an incredibly powerful way to build relationships and to open doors and even find mentors or work, can lead to work as well.
Mina?
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Sue mentioned. Volunteering is great. It's giving back to the community. It's very satisfying, but you need to watch your time. You need to volunteer for things that you're passionate about and you get something in return as well, like network connection. For example, I'm passionate about women and equity deserving groups and connecting with them. Any opportunities to talk to students, even elementary, the middle school, female, to talk about STEM is my passion. I volunteer. I don't even think it is Sunday. The only time I have with my son, doesn't matter, is my passion and I do it. And every time I do it, I feel so good and I learn a lot. But I don't like exercising. I don't like walking, jogging. Sorry, this is my personal thing. I don't do any of those things. So I never volunteer for doing those sort of things because it's not something that I'm going to enjoy. I know it's horrible, but this is who I am. So make sure that you know what your passion is, and you will be a great volunteer for that. Otherwise, it won't be genuine. It's just wasting your time on other people.
She said something really, really profound, knowing who you are. I love walking. I love jogging. I just started cycling. So, yeah, I volunteer on, so every month on iWest, we have this event that we call Wellness Wonder, and it's allowed me to, go for hiking to different mounts. We've gone to different places, different trails in Victoria. I enjoy it a lot. She says she doesn't, that is who she is. Right, so I recall when I moved into Victoria and I met Sue, one of the first things she told me was, join iWest. If you're interested in tech, you need to join iWest. I said, okay, iWest. I recall again that my credit card, that was the very first payment I made on my credit card, paying for iWest membership. End of August 2021, the very, very first. And I think the second one was paying for her coaching course. And then as a member of iWest, immediately I joined iWest. I got a was it a 30-minute session or 1 hour? 1 hour session. Yeah, she first gave me a 1 hour session of coaching because I joined iWest. That was the first one, and then I paid for the second one. So again, and it's landed me here today. So again, I would encourage you, look for what interests you. There are a ton of ways you can volunteer. I've gone for an event, and one of the first things someone asked me, what are you doing for the community? I was like, oh, okay. What am I doing for the community? I mean, that's a very profound question. And I could say, oh, I'm on the board of iWist and we do this. So it was a talking point for me. Another thing I noticed here is every weekend, you'd always ask, once you get back into the office, people would always ask, so what did you do last weekend? What did you do last weekend? So my weekends are filled with the activities that I can talk to. It helps building relationships with people as well. So if I say, oh, I went walking, I went jogging, someone has that attribute as well. They're like, okay, you know what, we can go on a hike together sometime. And that's how we build friendship, and that's how we build allies. So I'd say that, yes, it is very, very important to volunteer, but again, you need to be mindful of your time. So the next question is about coaching. A lot of people think it's expensive. A lot of people don't really see value in it. So right now, I have a coach to my right, and I have a professor to my left, right? So the best to ask this question. So Mina, I'll start with you before I go to, so what is the value of coaching, especially as an immigrant woman? I have limited funds, remember. I'm thinking of 1,000,001 things, but then as someone is telling me I should get a coach. Tell me, what's the value? Rather, tell us.
It's very important. So some people are lucky to have the coach right away, and they find them. Some, also similar to everything, is a connection. You need to find somebody that clicks with you. This is, I believe. There are coaches outside. There are people who are coaching outside, which they may not be right for you. So I think, and I had one actually, which was amazing. She was amazing when I came to Canada. The reason is, as an immigrant person, your time is limited to what you wanted to achieve. Sorry, I'm saying this. I don't want to sound really pessimist, but you have certain financial means, and you wanted to get to your goals quickly with the sort of financial means that you have. So people think, let's not spend time on coaching. That is the best investment you can make. With the right coach, with a person who can click with you and understand you, and as Sue mentioned that, for example, the person you just quoted, yes, you brought out what she never thought that she has. So this type of coach you really need to have. And it doesn't have to be forever. It's not, you need a coach for the rest of your life. But they can ignite they can give you the momentum you need to start your life. And they can give you the confidence, not just the momentum, the confidence. So I really, really advise for the coaching, because I had it myself, and it really helped me with so many things I didn't know what to do, especially in the new country.
Thanks for sharing that. Sue, coach.
Yeah, coaching is quite different than therapy. Like, therapy can go on for years. Coaches, we're trying to meet you where you are and help you figure out where you want to go and help you get there as soon as possible with your support, basically. We partner with you. And for me, when I'm working mostly with young women in STEM, especially who are new to Canada, the most powerful thing I do with them is that strengths coaching session, where we pull out those strengths and they really get to acknowledge what they bring to the table. I also do think that values are important as well when I'm coaching with people. So understanding your values, because again, if you can combine knowing your top strengths and the ones you love to use with a company that aligns with your values, that's fantastic. You're just going to be so excited to go into work every day. So it's what I think I do is I help my clients become more self-aware, and self-appreciative of what they're bringing to the table. And then you can actually own your value. Like, you can go into an interview knowing what you're bringing, and not only that, I'll sometimes do a coaching session on what do you need from an employer? What are you looking for? What are your mandatories and nice to haves? Because again, you go into the interview with a different mindset. You're actually evaluating them as much as they're evaluating you. And you can do some research on that, especially if you're new to this country. You can go on to LinkedIn, you can look at the company, the people in the company, and you can notice how many people might have come from somewhere other than Canada. That'll give you a read on how open and diverse they really are. And if it's a whole bunch of white males, then perhaps that isn't the ideal company for you. So you can do your own research as well and get a real feel for the company before you apply. So I mean, my job is really to help you get to know yourself better, to really show up as your best self, to set yourself some goals and to hold you accountable. But I tend to, especially with people who are new to Canada, I'm not working with them for an extended period of time. It'll usually be 2, maybe 3 sessions. But then I'm still, once I get to know them, I'm still always looking out for them, sending them links and connecting them with people that I think could be beneficial. So I'm realistic about people's budget. And that's really why I give that one free coaching session to anybody who's a new member of iWest, because I want them to have that chance to experience coaching and to get something of value. So I love what I do. I'm very lucky that I get up every morning excited for what I get to do. And so my goal is to try to help my clients figure out what that means for them and then take steps to actually make that a reality.
So
Can I just,
yes.
Sue, I envy you. You have an amazing job because one aspect of your job is not static, it's very dynamic. I'm sure that when you started many years ago as a person who coaches people, now you have changed and grew your sort of approaches. So it is one of those professions that it changes constantly, because you're dealing with human beings, people, and condition changes. So I really envy you. Yeah, it's a really good job, yeah.
Maybe there's a coaching future for you.
I don't think
Mina.
so. No, I'm not that good at it yet.
It has. I have to say that I had a client that I worked with from the UK, and I worked with her for about 6 months or so, and then checked in a year later, and she said, "I've got a surprise for you. I've trained to become a coach," and she's now actually got a whole coaching practice, and so it can happen. You never know.
So for me, I would just like to, just echo what both of them have said. I read a book a few years before I came to Canada from Marshall Goldsmith, and the title of the book is "What Brought You Here Won't Take You There," and that was where I learned about coaching. First, I learned that all the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies have coaches. In fact, they have several. Name them. From Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, Elon Musk, they all have coaches, more than 3. I was like, okay, so, and then again, for those who do sports, right? Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, name all the iconic figures in sporting, they have coaches, right? So that was where I first got to know about coaching. And, when I was coming here, I had the opportunity to meet Sue, and I still have the email she sent me with several connections. And so that is what a coach does for you. So I would encourage anyone, if you're struggling, please try and get someone to help you. Now, I have a bonus question, again, which we all face, whether we're an immigrant or non-immigrant, we're resident. How do I deal with rejection?
Oh, I love it. I just mentioned, I think we were in a circle discussing. I always say failing is the best part of your life, because people associate failing with failure. That is wrong. Failing is sort of setting the stage for something better and much more impressive to come. So when I get rejection, which I get a lot of them, believe me, in my grants, in my papers, we submit papers, I get very happy. Actually, I go with my student, we celebrate. Because I know this is the road to success. There will be another better thing happening for me. So look at it from that point of view and know that, but of course learn from it. Don't just send it and then the same thing over and over again. Say that, what did I do that I failed this time? Then next time, but even if you fail again, that's fine. Definitely there is another thing that you need to learn. And I look at it from a positive point of view, not of a negative. People get upset, of course, normal people. Sometimes people think you're not normal, but people get upset. That's a natural thing. But how long you get upset is important. Some people, they get upset forever. No. Yes, upset, get over it, learn from it, and move on. Get up and move on. This is very important. I think it's a very important lesson to practice and learn.
Absolutely. Sue?
totally agree that with you. That's exactly. I mean, I don't use the word failure. I say when something doesn't go as planned. It's a little softer, but it's the same thing. And you know, if you can take the time, obviously you're going to be a little upset for a while, but don't ruminate on it. Don't spend a lot of time on it. But do think about the lesson learned. Think about what you could have done differently, what you'll do differently next time, and you might even be able to get to the point where you actually can appreciate this, because you're going to be taking such valuable lessons away from it. So it changes from being a negative thing to being something that was just part of personal growth. And frankly, if you're not failing, you're just playing it really safe in your comfort zone. And that's not how you progress in life. It's not how you really grow. So failure is part of growing. It's a reality. Yeah.
I would say we fail forward. That's the way to look at it. We fail forward. You know, so failure would always come. You know, when I'm rejected from something, I had a major rejection in a few months when I arrived here. What I did, I walked into a store and I shopped. It helped me. It was a very good therapy for me. So if you get any form of rejection, I'll tell you, do something that you love. Probably get chocolate, you know, just for that day. Just do something that you really, really love. Cry if you have to cry. And then put yourself together, and then the next day is going to be a good day. So it's on that note that I would hand over to Sue to talk about what she has for us, the attendees, today.
So this is just to let you know that if you have met with a couple of people and you've been here today and you're in the draw, I have a package for you that somebody is going to win. It's a $400 package. So it includes my online networking course that I've just gone live with. It includes a one-on-one strategy call with me around your networking, some bonus gifts as well, and access to a mastermind where you get to practice your networking virtually. So you get some bonus times to come to those networking events as well. So it's $125 normally without the bonuses. I'm offering for $75 to anybody who's here and anybody online. And you get that $400 value. So it's only available till the end of the month. This is just a special thing that I've done for tonight because I love helping ladies and the men in the room qualify too if you're interested. You'll see on the back of the card, if you've still got it, if you haven't picked one up, there's a QR code and you can find the details. And Oluwapelumi, I think you've got a link that you're going to share for the people watching.
Yeah, so the people online, code will be shared with you right now. The link will be shared with you right now, so you can click on that link. And I would really, really encourage you, because I have worked with Sue, and trust me, that's where I'm seated on this seat today. It could just be you tomorrow. So yes, I would encourage you to take that offer.
So is there anyone who hasn't filled in the form yet? Raise your hand and we'll get the form to you. Maybe we can... Anybody not in the draw?
So
okay.
Please go to...
I mean, shall I come
No,
in?
no, no.
No.
Sit.
There's a form that you just need to fill in. Thank you. Yeah, and then we'll do the draw. Yeah. It's I don't know if I talked about, did I talk about the fact that I used to be a horrible networker? I don't know if I mentioned that. I used to hate networking. And then I kind of learned to love it. So hopefully tonight will be, for some of you who are a little uncomfortable, that will gradually be the beginning of you kind of really embracing it, because it really, truly is a superpower if you can do it and do it well. And anyone can learn, and it's not just for extroverts. I was at that course, the conference that I went to where I was underdressed. I was also speaking on networking, and I actually asked everyone in the room, there was about 70 people, imagine that you're going into a room for the first time. You have never been to this event before. You don't know anyone. Raise your hand if you just can't wait to get through the door and start meeting people. And 3 people raised their hand. Now, you're not going to tell me that room was all introverts. It's uncomfortable for anyone, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get, the more prepared you are. And it's just it's something that you can learn to love and do well. And it will just serve you so well. I just wish I had embraced it earlier in my life. I look around, there's so many young people here. Do it now. Don't wait as long as I did.
And I wanted to mention something that we talk about practicing and you can really learn it. I'm an introvert and I hate public speaking. And I'm sitting here and I sit on many panels and I talk a lot and part of my job is teaching, so it means standing in front of. So every time I do it, you cannot believe how I feel before doing it and after, but I do it. So it's just a matter of practicing. And some people they have it, they know how to do. Some, like me, you have to practice. So that's what we do.
So I heard about a woman who had the best TED Talk ever, and she said she practiced over 200 times. And that TED Talk went viral, practiced over 200 times. That's a lot. Yeah, so if you really want to be good at something, if you want to be good at networking, you start from here. You ask questions, you just show up, So I would say that. So Sue, how would this go?
I think perhaps, who should do the draw? Not me.
Mina?
Mina? Would Mina do it?
Yep.
Okay.
That
You
would
just
be
go.
good.
I'll just make sure we've got everything in. Anybody still writing? No.
I think we'll do the draw here, so people can see. On here? Yeah.
Maybe we can do it there.
Here.
Let's just do it.
You
Everybody,
just bring it here.
everybody sees that
Everybody
what we do.
sees that it is transparent. And then there is another draw for our IWIST members. So if you're professional, please ensure that you put your name in the basket there. And if you're a student, you could actually get free membership. So we have 2 going out today. So, yeah.
Shake it. Yeah.
And the winner is.
Looking at, she's really, really mixing it.
She really is mixing it up. And the winner
Lucky
is.
person. You want to say?
It's Judith. Judith Dada. Judith?
Oh,
Is that Judith?
Yeah.
Hi, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, way to go. Okay.
Come.
And-
We don't want to
Oh,
see
yeah, we're going to
you.
have pictures, are we?
Yeah, we should have pictures.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, so she's the winner of what, Sue? So let us know what she won.
She's won basically a $400 networking package.
Oh, wow. I'm jealous. $400. That's good. Congrats, Judith. So, yeah, okay, so you can go back. Right, Helen, we have another one for IWIST members. Both, yeah, so we have one for each. So please come. Please come. Helen is on the board of IWIST as well, so she'll be doing this draw on behalf of the board members.
You do it.
You do it, yep. So mix it. Okay.
This is the draw for a student. Ekaterina Steinberg.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations. So you get a year.
I'll take this and I'll send you a form.
Maybe
Yeah.
you wanted to stay here. Congratulations. And we do the other
Yes,
one and
yeah.
also we go
Oh,
ahead.
so she just won herself a 1-year membership from IWIST. So, and then,
Who gets a coaching session this weekend?
nice.
And the winner of the regular membership, Adi Elliott.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Please come. Yeah. Congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. Thanks for all your help. All right, thank you. So, it's been an amazing time. I would really want to thank all the attendees, both online and those who are present here in person. Thank you so much, Sue. Really, really appreciate your time, Mina. I'm
Thank you
super,
so much
super
for
grateful
having
for this. For the IWIS board members here, Helen and Jordan, thank you so much for working both back end and front end. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Jeff, who's been our technical guy, we really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for streaming this live online. And to the IWIS volunteers here, Wendy, Lily, and Erin, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. We've been here from 4 o'clock and, really working with me to make sure that we had this event and it's actually seamless. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And on to the next event. See you, everyone. sometime soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much.